To get random, since I haven't told stories from my past.
Yeah.
I got some random ones.
All right. Hit
This
us.
will be the last one. I was just figuring somehow it's never come up. I've talked about like Corey and all these other figures in my history who I played games with and everything, and somehow Alvin Walter Broyles III hasn't come up, and that name should make you smile.
It's a good name.
Because basically I knew this kid all growing up. So from elementary school on, and he was always like a total punk. He was like the like alpha bully in our group. And he was the kind of kid, like if you're walking by a puddle, you could be like best friends. Maybe there's like 4 of you or something. He'll just stomp in it like in your direction to soak you in the shit. Or like, and then he'll apologize, like, come on, I'm sorry. And then there'll be like a big plant, like they call it bush willy. It's like basically in Southern California, like a big stalk, and it's loaded with just like furry crap that like thistles that come off.
Yep.
Then he would like grab one of those, and they're like 6 feet long, and then like feather you with that after he'd already like more or less tarred you with the mud puddle. So, or like a cat, there would be a rotten cactus apple. I mean, there's a time when if you saw anything rotten on the street or anything, you would run immediately before he saw it. Because there's like a time even that, you know, in school, I remember he even did to me. I was eating like this burrito. I mean, we had burritos for school lunch, and it had a hot dog in it. And
what?
In the burrito, it had a hot dog, and that was a nasty surprise for everyone. So it'd be like beans, and there's just a hot dog in the burrito.
Okay.
And then he just like looks at it, takes a bite, and then throws it right on my fucking shirt. What the fuck was that? So we were always getting in fights and shit. I mean, that our whole youth was, you know, us like wanting to fucking beat each other up, and he was always a little bigger though. I would lose most of the time. But so I grew up with him, and high school was crazy because then he was like the first one in our group, you know, start trying drugs and everything. And so he would just start coming to class and homeroom in high school. He would drop acid or shit. And then here's the things with him. Like we had like a school assembly one time. You know, everyone goes into the gym and you're in the bleachers. And there's an assembly, and they started playing like some Nirvana. And he was on acid that day, and he's wearing like Doc Martens and shit. And he's up in the bleachers, and he just starts rolling over everyone's head like he's at a Nirvana concert, right? But you got to imagine it's all these like high school girls and shit, you know? They're just chilling. They're like, what's going on? Like all of a sudden, like just boots, and this fool is just like elbows and knuckles rolling over everyone's head like he's like at the Nirvana concert. I'm not making this up at all.
Now he's a CEO somewhere.
No, I'll get to like his story. I do a quick chronology. So then later that same year, he was in the high school air band thing, and this was the big year. Like in addition to the talent show, they'd have an air band thing, and it's basically you put up your choreographed stage presence, and you lip sync to a song, but you have like the full. It's basically Guitar Hero.
Sure,
you all get up there and pretend that you actually know how to play. So he somehow got through the screening a Napalm Death song, and that's like this like obnoxious death metal. And he brought like, so it's all, most of it's what you would expect at a high school air band. It's a bunch of girls in, you know, like all the whatever civics courses and stuff that are doing Yellow Submarine, and they got a big cardboard Yellow Submarine. They're all cutely dancing behind and stuff. So he comes up there with that, and it's like the PTA, you know, like parents are on the judges table in the front and stuff, and it starts playing. And then a bunch of us started like moshing, but it was all like chairs, you know, foldable chairs. And then that started going bad because like the coaches and shit at that time that were kind of hanging out there, they didn't know what the fuck we were doing. They thought we were just starting a riot or something. So they came in and just started grabbing us by the scruffs of our neck. But before that happened, I got grabbed and some other people I was with, we see Alvin, he's spitting fake blood all over the stage. He wasn't supposed to do that. But then he opens his jacket, and he's got like a beef kidney he got from Safeway, and he throws it smack right at the fucking PTA judges, like thinking it's cool. And he's banging his head and shit, pretending he's playing the guitar like, you know, like that kind of bullshit. And he throws that at them. So the same guy ended up becoming a massive meth addict. And then we couldn't tell. Like, we got to this point where we're all like, and he dropped out of high school, of course, and we're like, he starts drifting away, and you see him more often than not out front of the local liquor store where he's trying to, you know, fish for alcohol or something. And but we'd still kind of insist, like, he'd want to come over and hang out. And we were like, he's just crazy. And I didn't know it at the time. I was like, is meth really that fucked up? And then I had like a bunch of other friends and my half brother that were like meth junkies, and then I was exposed to it more, and I was like, there's something else here. And I figured out ultimately he had to have been schizophrenic, and it was just at that time, right? Late adolescence, like early, adulthood, and he had that. And a lot of times people that are schizophrenic end up doing a bunch of drugs like around that time too, beforehand, and it's kind of like confusing for for family and stuff to sort out what it was. Did the drugs make him go crazy? Or now it's just classic. Now that I know, like I've had, like an ex-girlfriend whose brother was schizo. I told you Corey's brother ended up becoming schizo. But so at the time when I still didn't know this, we would try to hang out with him now and then. And you'd go on these runs with him. Like, let's go to a friend's house. And that was about the most coherent thing you'd say, because half the time he'd try to tell you how like he learned ninjutsu, and you're like, well, what do you mean? And he's telling the story, and it's one of those like dreamlike senses of logic that makes no sense whatsoever. And you ultimately figure out that he's saying that he became so good at playing guitar, he also learned ninjutsu. He was like one of those kind of dudes. So we go to this house.
Okay, and you wanted to hang out with this guy.
Because I told you, it's one of those things, say you're like, whatever, you're 19 or 20 or something, and you'd spent your whole life knowing this person.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then you get to the point where you're like, I ain't going to hang out with you anymore. This is what I'm telling you is one of the last episodes. Mm-hmm. So we go to this house. It's a total fucking shithole, like a total drug eats house, Like you don't even know how they're paying rent. It's like broken windows and crap. There's no furniture or anything. Yep. And there's just a shitty TV there. And we're all just sitting around. I'm like, dude, we trying to tell him, like, waiting for the other guy that lived there to go into the bathroom or something. We're like, let's fucking go, But we're sitting there, and the guy's just talking about how much he loves this TV. And Alvin's telling him, man, we got to go and take this TV and pawn it, because he wanted to take it and pawn it to get money for some more meth. He wanted to get another 8-ball. And then the guy's like, I love this TV, man. I love this. And I can understand why. It was the only thing in his entire house other than the shitty couch. All of a sudden, Alvin picks up the phone. It hadn't rung or anything. He picks up the phone, and then his face goes just like, loses all expression. Then he looks at us and he's like, oh shit, we gotta run. And then he hangs it up, and we're all running. Next thing I know, we're all just fucking hauling ass out this house. And we get like 2 blocks. And at that point, as I was running, I was like, okay, I think I figured it out, but we shouldn't still be running according to the way I figured it out. And that would be, he wanted to try to get the kid out of the house so he can go back and take the TV, so then he can go pawn that. So then I asked him that. I'm like, are you going to get the TV, or what are you doing? And he's like, what are you talking about? And by that time, we just kind of like slowed into just a walk from the run. And then he didn't have any explanation or anything. That was just it. So that's an anticlimactic end of the story.
Wait, you don't know why you were running?
We just, no idea.
That's sometimes
that's just how it happened.
End.
Wow.
Yeah.
This is like a Tarantino movie all of a sudden.
It's good for it.
Was that the last time you ever saw him?
No, we would see him. There are always stories about him. Someone would see him at this beach or that beach, or he was on like the local news because they were doing a story about that same liquor store, how it would sell to minors and shit. Mm-hmm. And he was on there like yelling at the camera. And
this isn't Shane, is it?
No. Why don't you tell a Shane story?
I don't have any Shane stories.